And by the dawn's early light, said what so proudly we hailed. At the twilight's last gleam we said, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we were so gallantly streaming. Sitting the rock is red glare, the bumps bursting in air, say gay prove through the night that our flag was still there. Said, oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Said, oh, the land and of the free, and the home of the brave. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amen.
Now that the bestowal and the ceremony has concluded, I think it is okay for us to applaud our veteran who is here tonight. So thanks. So I think we're ready to eat if everybody's hungry. Hope you are. And I would call on Chris, if you would, please to return thanks for the meal.
Blessed are you, Lord God of all creation, for in you we live and move and have our being. Tonight we praise you for the gift of family, those gathered here and those scattered abroad and those who have come home to you. Thank you for the meal which is set before us now. May it nourish our bodies for your service, and may the fellowship we share this evening prepare us in spirit to care even more generously for those in need. Humbly we ask this in Jesus' name and for his sake. And let us all say amen.
Amen. Thank you.
$7.2 trillion cells, and they each follow that design to make you your unique self from the very time of your inception.
It's mind-boggling.
It is mind-boggling. It amazes me. Your DNA code is so long that if the DNA from just one cell were stretched out, it would be 6 feet long. Okay, that's just one cell. If you stretched out the entire DNA of all, how many 37.2 trillion cells in your body, it would reach all the way to the moon and back, not once, but 150,000 times. Well, something interesting about DNA, that's the scientific aspect of it. But genealogists for the last 15 years or so have been using DNA testing to extend their family trees and to trace their family history. Genealogists usually just use what? Records and historical documents and so forth. But a paper trail eventually ends, doesn't it? And that's called a brick wall. And if you've ever done any family research, I'm sure you know that eventually, whether it's your third great grandparents or your fourth great grandparents, at some point you have no more information. There's no more paper trail. And then you have those non-paternity events. Anybody know what I'm talking about? illegitimate births, adoptions, name changes,
Good.
errors in the records. All those can mean that the branch you're tracing may not in fact even be a part of your tree. But DNA testing can break through those brick walls and find the truth. In my case, DNA helped me pierce through the secrecy and the mystery of my husband's adoption and discover his biological family. And I can't begin to tell you what a rewarding experience it's been. And then testing my own DNA has helped me connect with some long-lost cousins and welcome them into the rightful place in our family. My first cousin, Chris, is here tonight, and I'm so blessed to have him in my life. And he popped up as a DNA match, and it was just before Christmas, I believe 3 years ago.
3 years.
And I opened up my Ancestry account and looked at my matches, and I'm like, first cousin, Enoch Christopher Latham, who in the world is that? I know all of my cousins, you know. So anyway, I messaged him and got a response from him, and he said, well, you know, he really didn't know much about his circumstances. He's an adoptee. And so, it took me about 2 minutes to figure out that one of my uncles is his biological father. Now, we still don't know which one, but I know this much, that he's my first cousin. And he's so much like all of my uncles that I can hardly talk to him without getting emotional. And then we have Edith that's here with us tonight, Edith Batson Hill, and Edith is an adoptee as well. And she is actually Chris's biological niece on one side of her family. But guess what? She's a Marchbanks cousin too. She was a DNA match to me and all of these other Marchbanks cousins that are on here. Now, Edith, it's taken you, what, a couple of years?
Taken me quite a while to figure that one out.
To figure it out, because guess what? Her mother was an adoptee too. So
Wow.
it's very complicated. But through perseverance and the right person taking a DNA test, she's now able to know who her biological grandfather was. And so she's now has all of that filled out, every branch of her biological tree. And Edith, we welcome you to your first Marchbanks gathering. Thank you. So how many of you have taken a DNA test of any kind? Anybody? Well, have you explored your results beyond that pie chart? You know, most people take it, they just wanna get that chart that says how much Scottish they are, right? That's what we all wanna know.
I'm expecting James to tell me.
But you can do so much more with it. Those pie charts, they're actually just based on population studies. Very little science goes into those. They're predictions. It's more of a sociology interpretation of your results rather than a scientific interpretation. It's based on who has reported that they belong to this particular ethnic group. DNA test results have so much more to offer than just that. So I'd like to help you learn through my own experience how to test your DNA and to reap those rewards, which can be newfound family even. So if you look on that back of the first page of your handout, I've got just some technical terms that you might hear sometime and want to know what that means. And then on that next page, I've got choosing a test type. Now, you're all familiar that there are different types of testing companies, but there are also different types of tests. The Y-DNA test is for males. Males have a Y chromosome, which they received from their father, who received it from their father. And this was the original test offered by Family Tree DNA. And Family Tree DNA, by the way, was one of the first consumer-friendly companies. And it was also established by genealogists who were wanting to break through those brick walls in their family trees. The next type of test is a female type test, the mitochondrial DNA test, the particles that are passed from mother to child and are passed only by the females. And we'll talk more about that in just a minute, but it can help trace a maternal line, but still it's just gonna be that mother's 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 mother type thing. And then the autosomal DNA test. Now that's the newer test that's been so helpful to so many of us who were doing research. When we first started trying to find Mike's family, the Y-DNA test was had become available. And in fact, James Green, that's here with us tonight, he's the administrator of our DNA test project on Family Tree. But he was the one that guided me through ordering the Y-DNA test for Mike, and even included him in the Marchbanks project just for us to get him in there, because I had no idea what to order or how to interpret the results. And so we were hoping that it might tell us who Mike's biological father's name was, and maybe something about his ethnicity. He didn't have any close matches at all. He still doesn't, except for his brother who tested for me a couple of years ago. But the autosomal DNA test, on the other hand, that's a very broad test. It tests males and females, and it may not go as deep as the Y-DNA test or the mitochondrial DNA test, but you can rope in all of these other relatives.
And which one's that?
The autosomal DNA.
Okay.
C there on choosing your test type. Now, so you've got these different companies, so which one do you use? Well, I talk a lot about the Family Tree DNA because it's a very practical company, a very straightforward company. They have no ulterior motives. They don't sell your information to other companies. Not a big chance of them being traded and bought by somewhere we don't want to be managed by. So Family Tree DNA, and they're running a big sale right now. The autosomal test is $49. Or the biggest test, which is called the Big Y, goes up to $507, but those are great prices on those. Family Tree DNA sells all 3 DNA test types. They have no fees associated with it. You buy your test, you can, for a nominal fee, you can have access to all of their tools, which are kind of neat to compare your DNA to other people's. But they don't have an annual fee that you have to pay every year to be a member. They do host the Marchbanks project, so that's probably why it's the most important company here. That is home to the Marchbanks project. If you test your DNA on Family Tree, you will want to join that project. And the other good thing I like about it is you can communicate to all of your matches through email. And this is the only company that provides the email addresses to you, the only testing company of your matches. The others have internal communication systems, which in my experience usually don't work very well. You usually end up having to figure out who the person is and somehow manage to find their email address or phone number or physical address to communicate with them. The other good thing about it, they collect cheek swabs. You don't have to come up with enough saliva to fill up a tube up to here, which for older folks, that can be difficult. So they use a simple cheek swab. And they also accept if you've tested with another company, that's okay. You can upload your information to Family Tree DNA, and they'll put you in their database just like everybody else. And like I said, they have some really neat tools that where you can compare your results to other people's. Of course, I guess a lot of us are members of Ancestry.com.
Yes.
And I love Ancestry.com. I use it every single day. But that's not to say that it doesn't have its problems. It was in the last couple of years, it was sold to a large corporation that I think that they probably might sell your information, to other places. They offer the autosomal DNA test. Their prices run from $60 to $199. The $199 does include your membership to Ancestry. They have an internal communication system, which, like I say, it might work sometimes. The person might see your message to them, but most of the time it does not work well. But their best thing is they have the largest database, not only of DNA test results, but of genealogical records, historical records, and that's with a paid subscription that you have to pay every year to maintain that. And they do collect the DNA from saliva. And then there's the 23andMe test, and it might cost a little bit more. The difference in them is they do this health testing, and they ask you often surveys about your health history, and they try to determine what genes you might have that might suggest that you're predisposed to certain problems down the road. They have no annual fee, but their internal communication system I don't think works very well. And they use the saliva for collecting the DNA sample. And then there's MyHeritage, and they are right now, I think for the next 2 days, they're running a very good test. I believe it's $39. I've never seen a autosomal DNA test that cheap before. And if you tested with them, then you could always upload your results to Family Tree and still be in the Family Tree database too. So if you wanna go for a cost saving there, that would be it. You don't have to pay the annual subscription in order to view your DNA matches and your DNA results. But you do if you're going to use their historical documents and their genealogical records. And they have a really neat photo enhancement system that you can use. You can upload your old pictures, you can make them clearer, you can add color to them. And if you're Facebook friends with me, you may have seen some of the animation that you can add to those old pictures, and that is so neat. It's just unbelievable to see your great-grandfather move, blink, open his mouth, nod his head, and it's something else. It's worth a try, and a lot of these places have free weekends, or you can try it out for a little while to see if you like it. So what you have to do is place your order, set up your account, and you can start building your family tree usually right then. If you join Ancestry, you will want to make sure that they know to attach your DNA results to your family tree. That's where you're gonna get the most benefits. And you, even through Ancestry, they will connect you with other people who are in your line that your DNA matches with, tell you how you're related to them. This is where you can really break down those brick walls. Because if you're not sure if your great-great-grandfather was the son of this particular person, you can go over to one of the other siblings and see, oh, I'm DNA matches with all of these people, these other siblings. Now, I may be related to them in another way, but it is a very good indicator that you probably are. in that same line as them. And so then, after you get your results, you can upload to the family tree DNA, to MyHeritage, and to GEDmatch. And I wanna mention GEDmatch real quickly because that is the tool, the site where all of the forensic detectives and case solvers are using that to crack these cold cases. They're using GEDmatch, and they're taking DNA from someone who's either a suspect, that they want to find out who this suspect might be, or they're taking DNA from maybe a body that they can't identify. And so they are using then genetic genealogy to identify these people from their DNA samples by connecting them to some of their family that's been thoughtful enough to test and to upload their DNA results to GEDmatch. And so if you've seen any of the crime-solving shows that feature CC Moore, and she is like the foremost genetic genealogist. I watched all of her videos to learn how to solve my husband's case. And so that is what they're using, is this GEDmatch database. Now, you may not be able to see these other two pages. I just did a screen capture of these, but I wanted you to see what the family tree DNA page looks like. And this next page, this is actually Mike's home page. But you can see that his autosomal DNA results and tools are first. And if you wanted to look at those matches, which is actually what solved his case, he had a first cousin match that popped up there for us a couple of years ago. And that was how I was able to solve his case. But the family finder matches, his Y-DNA results are in the next box down. That's where I didn't have any luck at all. But if you're a man and you would like to examine that direct line, like for the Culpepers, it would be their Culpeper line. It wouldn't be their Marchbanks line. So that would be the test they would do. The next page is my match page.
Mom, can you tell me what, I can't see,
I can't see it very good either,
what,
Charles.
on the dashboard page that we were just looking at, the badges are on the right side, and the first one is badge, is that M269 or M269?
I think it is, yes.
So I know how he's
It, it sure is, yeah. It goes way back, doesn't it?
Yeah, M269, maybe 8,000, 16,000 years.
Quite a few years back. So the next is my family finder match page. And my first match there, my closest match is my mother. I had her tested, and it even tells me that's our relationship. But if I didn't know what our relationship was, it shows the amount of DNA that I share with my mother, and that is 3,567 centimorgans. That centimorgan is the term from that page 2, where that's how DNA is measured in centimorgans. And there are a lot of charts. I didn't print out any. I'd be glad to share any of those with anybody that tells you if you share this much DNA with somebody, what relationship you might share with that person. And then if you'll see where it says X match, we were talking about the mitochondrial DNA that you get from your mother. It says that we match on that X chromosome. And so I know that's my maternal line. And so if you have anything in there, you know that's somebody on your maternal line. So the next one is my son, Mitch. And see, he and I are X matches too, because I passed along that much to him of that mitochondrial DNA. Okay, my next one is who? Cousin Chris. Cousin Chris, he and I share 883 centimorgans. That puts him squarely in the first cousin range. And, you can see on the X match, we don't match there because he is from my uncle. And, now if he'd been from my aunt, then we probably would have shared some of that mitochondrial DNA. The next match is Amy Jenkins, and she is my first cousin's daughter. And so we do share some of that X chromosome DNA. The next is my first cousin's daughter as well, April. And so we share some too. The next one is my second cousin, Gilbert Stephen Marchbanks, and we're second cousins. He lives in Anderson. He goes by Steve, which you know, is how many in our family are named Steve for our great grandpa Stephen Carey.
I get it.
And yeah. I can't tell you how many in our family are named Stephen. So he graciously agreed to do the Big Y, didn't he, James? And so he did the Big Y project and to test that Marchbanks line all the way back. And then my next one, guess what? She's an adoptee too, on my daddy's side. And so by communicating with her, she didn't answer me for so long. I reached out to her, didn't hear anything for 3 months. And she finally answered me and she said, I have no idea how we're related. I'm adopted. And so, anyway, after she gave me access to her results, I was able to narrow down her biological father to one of my second cousins in Anderson, not in the Marchbanks line, but in my daddy's side of the family. And so then it took more testing then to determine exactly which one was her father. And he wasn't living, but she had a great time, got together with her sister at my house, and I got right in the middle of both of them when they were hugging and kissing and crying. And her aunts and lots of cousins, so that's been very rewarding. And does anybody have any questions? Well, I hope that that's maybe encouraged you to explore DNA testing, and if you have already tested, maybe to upload your results to some of these other companies, and to maybe see if you can find some other relatives that you didn't know, or to see if you can trace back through some of those brick walls.
Thank you.
Okay, and now I think we'll have a word from Caroline.
Thank you, Carol.
Right there.
I think you can hear me if I just stand right here. Can
Wow,
everybody-
Sure we can.
Is that good? Well, many of you came to the games last year and to our luncheon, and you had the pleasure of meeting Patricia and Stuart and their son Jonathan and their daughter-in-law Mary. They have sent us greetings, and they are said that they will be thinking of us tonight, and that they think that we are really a good dynamic group, and they look forward to seeing us in October. I don't know how many of you joined the Zoom meeting in October, but we had a great international Zoom meeting. If you could possibly join, we need your email information to send you the link, but we're gonna have another Zoom meeting internationally in October. And then in April, we had another tutorial on genealogy by the clan genealogist John Marchbanks that was really interesting. So we may continue the 2 Zoom meetings all year, this year and next year. So please be sure to give your information to Kimberly if you would like to join that. Also from Andrew, our chief, he said that he regrets that he could not be here tonight, but he sends his greetings to all of us here. And he said that he is always impressed at the enthusiasm of this family. And he looks forward to seeing the film of this meeting. And I think Kimberly is going to see him.
Well, I'll see Patricia, Patricia in 2 weeks.
Very good. Thank you, Caroline and Carol. Very informative, so hopefully we'll get some more input on that, get some more information. I think we have next some information on Reedy River Baptist Church Cemetery and the Marchbanks tartan. I think Kimberly's gonna share that with us, is that right? Okay.
Camera, yeah. There.
There's the camera. So I'm Kimberly Bruce, and I have to say that I have been using Carol's ancestry tree to make all of the name tags to find out, who your ancestors are. And I have to say, if you can get onto her tree, it's a wealth of information, and I really appreciate that about the DNA. Thank you. So one thing I'd like to discuss is the Reedy River Baptist Church. It is a church that, especially if Stephen Perry Marchbanks, if that's definitely one of, for a lot of us, is one of our great grandparents. And it's a church near Travelers Rest, and I have to say that I have discovered that I have 17 great grandparents in that that's buried there. And so the church is located right on the Swamp Rabbit Trail. And every time I go by, I wave and say, "Hi, Grands!" Which is, it's just, it's really beautiful to be able to see that as you pass by. So those with the Stephen Perry names on their name tags, you at least have two great grandparents that are in the cemetery. Jay Gresham, I have discovered that you have 2 there as well. So he is from George the Jacobite, but takes a different path from Stephen Perry. And so we share a great grandparents, William Eaton Hawkins and Catherine Bowling. So they're buried there, but there are not any markers for them. So that's something we might want to
Find them.
Yes, maybe place something there for them. And then so James and Billy Long are from a different line, and their line is primarily is more of the lower part of the state. So they are not. He does not have any ancestors buried there that I'm aware of, but more research, more than likely, I bet you do.
You call Fairfield the lower part of the state?
Well, to me it is.
We're north of Columbia.
Okay, then it is below Greenville.
Okay.
But so through the Marchbanks Clan Society, we have in excess $4,000 in the bank account. And it's just something that we have wanted to explore with trying to see what we can do with some of these membership dues and put them to good use. And one way that we thought we could do that is by giving back to the Reedy River Baptist Church. And through some of those charitable efforts, I'm hoping that this broadens as we grow. But they are in need of cemetery groundskeeping. And they have established a cemetery trust for perpetual care and a cemetery maintenance fund. So if you become a member, that is one way that your dues will help us to fund that. And then if you have a desire to give to the church directly, you're welcome to do that. I have created a bowl back there for a collection if you have a desire to give to the church, and I'll put those funds to the side and give it directly to the church. And I also have some newsletters that talk about the cemetery, the Friends of the Cemetery. And one of the things I like, it says that their efforts are honoring the dead by enlightening the living. So those newsletters have a lot of information about Stephen Perry and about the church itself and how it was established during the Revolutionary War. It's quite interesting. So I encourage you to look at those newsletters. And let's see. And then also I was going to mention that I want to report on this, like how much we're going to give from the Clan Marchbanks Society, and at the October 15th Zoom meeting. So I encourage you, if you're able to access Zoom, to join us on October the 15th. We'll send out an email. And so if you're not on our email list, please give me your email. And the other thing I'm going to discuss is an update on our tartan order. So I want to give a big thank you to Jay Gresham, for he's the one that did a lot of research, and we're benefiting from his research. And he located a mill in Scotland who is going to manufacture this tartan. And it's my understanding that is a mill that he chose is the last tartan weaving mill. That's what it says on their website, and I'm going with that. And through Jay's connections, our local store, Rush Wilson, was so kind to place the order for our society. And they let us purchase tailored and untailored fabric. And as a group, we have exceeded ordering 85 yards. So that brings the price down from $200 a yard to $85 a yard. So that's a very good price break. And let's see, since there is a chance that Russ Wilson is waiting for one individual to be measured, there is a possibility that he might, if you're interested, that you might be able to jump in on this order. So if you are, I have a sign-up sheet in the back, and I'll also have Jay Wilson's information, so you can contact him directly. Now, that being said, Jay Gresham, because he let us join in on his order, it has delayed his order. I'm guessing a bit more than he anticipated. So I really
we all have it together.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you doing that, because I know that there's probably been a bit of a delay. So thank you.
We'll be all decked out in our kilts for next games.
Yes. Yes. And at the moment, I don't know the timing. So it just depends on when they place the order, and I don't know how long that takes. So I was hoping to have that for tonight, but I don't. And that's it.
Say something about your book.
Okay, so there is a large notebook in the back, and so I, through my research, I could not figure out which Stephen is which William is which, and which George is which. And I know that the Stephen Perrys have had a little bit of a roadblock going, trying to figure out who his father is. I feel that I have figured that out, and I believe it's Stephen Marchbanks, who is would be the great grandson of George the Jacobite. But I basically have I have a timeline, and I have all of the actual documents. I've copied them. I've gone to several different courthouses and just done tons of research, churches, just trying to make those connections. And I feel like I have been able to separate it out. So if anybody's interested, have a look.
It's amazing.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kimberly. So I think it's pretty obvious, keeping this group together, they're kind of the engine that runs this ship. And they do a wonderful job of organizing events like this, of decorating for it. They go out during the Highland Games each year, the night before, without not a little bit of help from some family members. And they assemble and set up the tent. They put out all those wonderful decorations. They put in the effort to do this research so that we have useful and interesting information for people to see there. They just do a great job. And I think we ought to give them a round of applause. I also would encourage those of you who have not done it, if you can join the Zoom meeting in October. The Stewart and Patricia Bailey Strong they're just fabulous people. I hope you get the opportunity to meet them in person. I had the opportunity to meet them when they were here. I guess not this year, but the previous year for the games, and I was able to go to dinner with them. tremendously accomplished, but extremely humble people, and you would really, really enjoy getting to know them. So I'd encourage you to join that if you're able to. Also, thanks to John Breazeale for singing the national anthem for us. He's not here with us, but appreciate him doing that for us. To Father Chris Latham for our invocation, and also congratulations again, and our great thanks to Mr. Culpepper for your service to your country in Vietnam, and your family service in World War II as well. We appreciate that very much. So I think the next thing that is to be done, everybody got a ticket, I think, when you came in, and there's a door prize.
Does anyone not have a ticket?
Anybody not have a ticket? You can win a Mercedes-Benz or something with that, is that what's up?
Robin Duffy's gonna do the honors.
Who's gonna do the drawing?
Y'all ready?
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, we'll call out the last four numbers. 8230.
All right.
All right.
I guess. If y'all didn't get a Vespa plate, you missed it.
Pick you out of the door.
I did get my
Like
Vespa.
that door, that might get my back.
That screwdriver in the car.
I got the grill.
Not just the ancestry.
Picture of Jimmy Hines.
What's in that one?
No, it's a ensemble, family finder, family tree.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Joe. Now we'll get to know who we've got to blame for you.
If we passed Richmond in 1862, I would be great. My family line ends right there.
We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Thank you.
Congratulations. So, and thanks to Jay for letting us join him in that order for the tartan. It is a beautiful tartan, as you can see. James has got the kilt, so you can see that it makes a gorgeous kilt. I've got one, and yeah, it's really nice, and it's a lovely tartan. So, if anybody's interested, I would encourage you to join that order. They are hard to come by. Okay.
You're supposed to wear socks with it, so it would look better.
Yeah.
It could look better.
You wear them like you want.
It's the medicine.
Yeah, so I think before we wind it up, we wanted to get, or maybe you want
Get some pictures.
okay, you want to do the song now and then take pictures after? You do that?
Whatever you want.
Okay. Unless there's anything else, any other information or announcements for the good of the order? Okay, so my agenda says that we're gonna sing Blessed Be the Tie. Who is gonna lead it?
Tina,
Okay.
you can start us.
So you can do the solo.
I'm gonna get away from the microphone.
Everybody stand up. Everybody stand up, join hands.